That's fine enough. All right, let's go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another SparkyNinja podcast. It's Dave and Dave here. And it's been a couple of weeks since we did another one, just because we've been very, very busy, really. How you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I've been not too bad, Dave. How's yourself been?
I've been doing too much. I've been kind of running around in all sorts of directions. I've taken on a new job as well. But hey, yeah. And we'll cover it in the podcast, some of the things I've been up to, but I've been a bit chaotic, hence we've not really had much time to kind of sit down together and just do that. And I think today it's just going to be more of a kind of catch up and say what we've been doing, see what's going on, what we can see in the past couple of weeks, and then we're probably going to plan, because we have been planning some dedicated podcasts on some like subjects and some of these formulas that we've been bringing up and these little cheats you've been coming up with. We do need to plan to bring some of them in, but we're not going to do it today because we've just been too busy. I'm going to turn my fan off.
Yeah,
how are you, mate? You alright?
It's been an interesting one. Yeah, I've also been very busy. 4 a.m. starts to get to sites every day. Lots of support for a job we got going on. Big 17 consumer unit distribution board change. Some main panel switchboards to change. A lot of upgrades to RCBOs for fire protection and additional protection, because there's a lot of expensive stuff in these buildings. As you can imagine, lots of shared and borrowed neutral issues on the insulation. Probably about 30 years old.
Just turn my fan off. Let's start on this. Hang on. Oh. Now, if you hear any noise in the background, that's my kids not listening to the fact that Daddy's doing a podcast. Because they're still off school, but we will carry on. Early starts then. 4 a.m. early starts. I mean, is this something that you just take with a job? Is this something you put up with a little bit, or is this something that you're not too bothered about?
Sometimes it's an I need money case. But basically, that's a driver for us all, I think. Money is the evil of our drive, but 4 a.m. starts are definitely a killer. You have to go to bed early, miss a lot of family life, and I think sometimes through our job, and all of us as electricians, especially ones that work further afield to get to our jobs, it's become a world where we're not so much a local electrician anymore. We're sort of everywhere.
That's true, especially with the bigger contracts, because some of these bigger companies, their contracts aren't in local towns. Really, they're kind of everywhere, and even abroad. And you can find yourself, having a job where suddenly you're booking hotels or you're booking even flights as part of the norm. And I've done it in my training career, my consultancy career. On the tools, my biggest issue on the tools really was working in London. That was more about commuting in traffic and stuff, getting into London. But, I mean, you mentioned about time off with kids. I actually sometimes do 4 a.m. starts because I value family time. What I mean by that is sometimes I won't travel the evening before to stay in a hotel. What I'll do is I'll spend time with the kids, I'll put them to bed, and then I'll have a 4-hour power nap, and I'll get up at 2 or 3 o'clock. And then I'll do the drive, and I've done this many times because I live up in the northeast, and I've got clients down in the Ely area, down in London, down in some over as far as, again, I was in Swindon recently. I'll spend 4 hours or so on the road, and at night time it's better driving. But because I don't want to then have an evening where I'm not, in bed with the missus, or I'm not saying goodnight to the kids. But what I have noticed is, like, when I'm in a hotel, I'll be like, okay, work, hotel. When I'm in the hotel, I kind of just I just feel like I'm just sat there. I'm not, because it gets boring very quick. When you travel as well, it gets boring very quick. You just want to, sometimes I'll just sleep, or I'll go and I'll do a walk or whatever. But I kind of just, as soon as I can, I just go home. And a lot of the times I'll work, and then there's another hotel booked that night to kind of get your sleep to then travel back the next day. But often I'll get back to the hotel, I'll have a power nap, then I'll check out the hotel and I'll drive that evening because I just want to get home as soon as possible. So time away from home is it's something I think a lot of us have just had to get used to, though.
Yeah, it has become that kind of environment. I mean, some of the lads we have stay there all week. They're usually single lads.
I was about to say, are these guys with families, or are they just earning the money while they're young?
Young, some are older, and just haven't got around to that sort of lifestyle. Maybe find it easier not to. I think everyone's different. It's hard. We are working in London at the moment, so I totally get what you're saying. I did drive in once. I needed my tools because I I was back on the tools. I was changing some of these boards as well over a weekend. We had some critical circuits that could only be off on the weekend. We had a team of 6 electricians, and we changed basically 7 to 8 2 units distribution boards in that time. 2-day flip around, very manic. We're on the job full time. The tenants are not in, so we can crack on with testing. We don't have to turn them on live straight away, so they're all dead until the testing's sorted out. Then I go back on the Monday, start the testing process. On my boards, I was able to test. Some of it was I was going
during erection.
Yeah.
And
so
then on completion,
we had a bit of a manic one. I had to get it on. They're working remote from there. You ever been to a place where the screen's black but the cursor's still moving around on the screen? So you know somebody's doing something. Obviously, you're not allowed to see it, but they're there.
Yeah.
So you can't turn anything off.
Yeah.
So we had to do it. We had no choice. I did drive down central London. Absolutely horrible. It's never nice to drive central London. Oh, it's a pain. I'm employed, so I don't have any of the costs associated with ULEZ and congestion.
Yeah, all that stuff makes it easier, I guess, but you can easily realise you're just spending an awful lot of time. And again, you might get sustenance pay, you might get obviously overnight pay. I remember a few months ago the GIB kind of announced an increase, and the increase, everyone was like, really? Is that all? I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't an impressive increase for contracting. But it's it's a way of life, and it's not for everybody. I know a lot of people go into teaching or working for themselves because they want to work local and they don't want to keep the travel. Not for everybody. It's not for everybody. So you said you're doing some boards, so you're back on the tools. What's going on?
Yeah, I thought, you know what, I quite fancy it, mate. You know when you've been off the tools for quite a bit of time, and you just like you're getting a bit maybe rusty.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get back to see if I still had it. Was the main thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll set my kids. Hang on.
Oh.
There we go. Shut the door. So I say to the missus, tell the kids, don't let the kids go. They're just out there making as much noise as possible. Right. So yeah. Back on the tools. Is it something? I mean, you say, is it something you kind of want to do a bit of, or something you're happy about?
Truth, I had missed it. It's not the first time in my tenure of the employment that I've taken in the last year and a half that I've been on the tools. When I see somebody who's up against it, and Marley's RPM there, and he's got all the pressure on him, and you want to help him because he's a really good guy.
Yeah.
And I think you don't want your teammates to struggle throughout, so it's like you got to roll out your sleeves, get on and get it done. Our contractor manager, Pete, was back on the tools as well. Which was good because he could see from a contractual side how hard this actually was. He did a board himself. He's an electrician as well, trained like me. He's been off the tools for a bit, but still dips in to give a hand where he can. He did really well, to be honest.
I mean,
tested.
I'm a firm believer that anyone who's kind of like been on the tools and then come off the tools needs to spend some time back on. Especially with modern tools and modern challenges, just to kind of keep it honest, to make sure they understand what it is they're managing, so to speak. But it's same with teaching. It's like the lads at arena training, which most of those guys are electricians, based in Sheffield. When you've got a college or a training provider where that person has been in the classroom or the college room, and all they've been doing is repeating the training programs for many, many, many years, it's very hard for the industry to get into the training experience and having that ability. And again, I've been thinking about doing it myself because it used to be like 50-50. I used to be 50% training, 50% consulting, and then that consulting would be in the field consulting. And then I'm the kind of guy that would just get hands on and pull in a cable or spread things. Like if I'm doing like a distribution for temporary power, I grab the cables and I put them into the generators. I put the distros out. It became, you do it. Guys learn more if they see you doing it instead of you just telling them what to do. And they, but you can then tell them why you're doing it when you're doing it. So I used to do a lot of that, and I still do as much as I can. But an awful lot of the training programs I have now, they're like, electrotechnical. solar, batteries, EV. There's very little practical you can do other than just the paperwork. A lot of these training programs are now about paper exercises and filling in the paperwork and doing the design. So I was even looking recently at jobs going just to kind of see if I can get a little bit of practical experience just to kind of like tick that box, because I've not really had I've not been on the tools other than as an assessor. And again, when I assess, I maybe do a couple of cable pulls or a little bit of this and that, but other than that, I've not really been able to I wouldn't say I've been on the tools the best part of 3 years now, and I think that's too long, to be fair, for me. I think anyone in the teaching consulting space should have some experience and keep it going, just to kind of keep it honest.
Yeah, I think it's always a good idea to keep those skills sharp, because you never know. Sometimes you might just want to go back to full-time installing.
Well, I mean, just look at I look at CEF live. I look at all the videos that come back, all the shorts on social media and stuff. There'll be tools I've never seen before, and if I don't pay attention to that and then go and actually intercept that and have a go with it, in 3 years I'll be delivering a course and I'll be making this assumption that everyone does it this way, when what's been normalised is a completely different approach to terminations or to whatever. And so it's very important. And a company that I've been working with recently, the tutors have been very much stuck in the training space, and so I had a meeting and I said, one of the first things you've got to do is let them go out and play. You've got to assign them some dedicated CPD activities. Go to an LX or go to the college or get out there so they can see what's going on. Because the training room, it can also almost be like an echo chamber where you can't really hear anything but your own space. And whilst everyone comes into there to learn, it's important that they bring that in to that space and keep it going, keep it fresh. Otherwise it can just, it gets undervalued and it becomes crap. Right, I've got here written down CPD for me, so I wanted to just talk about CPD. I've done some good CPD lately on wind. I downloaded the new HV standard by the GWO, the Global Wind Organization, whatever it is. So there's lots of people in the HV space are developing programs for that. It's an interesting program. And they have instructions on the training requirements and limitations on training requirements. And I was quite puzzled as to why in the actual GWO standard, it says that the training shall be no longer than, I think it's like 28 days or so. So your training, if you create training for this, you can't make it longer. So it's very interesting the way they've structured that. So that's obviously a huge amount of work's been pushed in that space with regards to the upskilling for the offshore, going out into the middle of the bloody ocean, putting some big wind farms in. So I've done a little bit of that just to kind of sense check some programs, a bit of mechanical training, done a little bit of that, mostly sense checking other programs really, getting involved in meetings on those. Did a nice bit of CPD on the US NEC. Just trying to understand the language differences, because one of my old clients in the thermal imaging space, I did my level 2 training with them, but I've then kind of worked with them in a consultancy role. We often have these, we're producing this for the European market, does this work? And then their language is very, very different. So I've had to do a big binge of CPD just to understand what the current requirements are in the US. How many times you read a US book or a US article and they use a different terminology than we use over here?
Race.
You got receptacles, you got the ground and all this stuff. And it's interesting because when you create stuff that's for an international audience, you'll have those little barriers. So I've been doing a little bit of CPD to make sure when we write things, it's good for a EMEA market, the US markets, and so forth, and Asia and everything. So I've been studying the different terminologies, the electropedia and stuff. That's my CPD really, been working on a bit of that. I've got some planned CPD for a bit of HV design. And I've got another bit of planned CPD coming for LV design, but I'm holding on to that because after that I'll be getting things ready for the December 2396, which we're pushing delivery on in November online. So it'll just be perfectly timed for that, I reckon. But yeah, so some interesting CPD, looking at what's going on outside of the LV space. is what I've been up to, and I find it quite refreshing to again go into those spaces where I'm not too experienced, and I'm just looking at them as an observer. I'm just kind of taking it in, just out of general CPD interest, really. What about yourself? What have you been up to, mate?
It's good to challenge yourself on different subjects outside of your own comfort zone. Sometimes it's relevant.
It's good to know what you don't know. And it's good to know you don't know it, and then go look at it and go, oh, yeah, I don't know it.
I find myself having to do the whole go back through the 18th. I use the IET app on the playbooks, I think it is, to do a quick sense check on what I know. I'll go with the book and see how far I can get without. And
yes.
Frustrated when you get the odd one wrong and think, why did I think it was that? I know it's that. So I go through the book constantly. I think I do 2 pages a night of 7671, usually through the forums, check-in, sense checking. But my main thing is having to keep, you learn the CPD, but you have to keep going.
Yeah.
Otherwise you just and then it becomes stale, and then unconscious competence creeps in. Oh, I know that, but maybe I don't. I'm
seeing a lot of people, I mean, I've been using unconscious competence as an example of amazing. I'm seeing it become quite popular now. I've got an 18th edition course next week, actually. I've got to drive down tomorrow, down the country, to deliver it. It's refreshing. The problem I have is the training program is so much big, so much size, right? And with all the CPD I've been doing, and the more I've been learning about things that are impacting the regulations, that will impact Amendment 4, that are currently getting into Amendment 4, that will then come in at some point in the 19th edition. There's so much stuff going on. And, the more you look, the more you find. And then you find stuff that's being worked on, stuff that's confirmed, and all this stuff. You then realise, well, your training program isn't going to hold it all in. So an awful lot of this stuff will have to go into blended or hybrid learning, or you're going to have just going to cut off time to learn, because everyone wants the regs to be in these days. The typical regs course is 3 days. Really, it should be the best part of a week. And so I've been looking at the schedule of learning. I've been going, okay, yeah, and I'm thinking, yeah, but I also know this, and I also know this, and I did a surge protection course. And I did an awful lot of CPD for that. And I'm thinking, well, I'd love to go through MOVs and gas discharge and understanding what the actual oscillations are and why they are what they are. I'm just adding, and I can't fit it in. So that's something I've got to work on. And I'll probably this week, I will on the next podcast relay how it went. But I will struggle to kind of cram it all in. I'm probably going to tell the learner straight away that I won't cover 7, because part 7's just everything on a certain niche. They can by all means look at that in their own time. I think if I sacrifice 7, well, the appendices kind of get covered as you're going through, because when you're getting through 52 the wiring systems, you need to obviously use the appendices, Appendix 4 in particular, and 3 for the time current curves to actually do the cable calculations to demonstrate the process. So the appendices kind of just get done as you're going through 1 to 6. They're just absorbed into that. Anyway.
To like a location, like a fairground or a caravan,
and
caravan wiring, or medical.
And so I start off with this discussion through page 3 about the actual chapters, the purpose of the chapters and the intent of a designer. And with the special locations, it's just a case of, well, in a swimming pool there is also this, and in agriculture there is also this, and it's more about understanding, how it works. And if you understand the structure of 7671, past 7's a piece of cake. I'll see what I do, but I may have to compromise 7, or I may just have to add it as a distance bit that they do in the evenings. But I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go yet. And it's a problem with having so much stuff coming into the 18th edition. It's very hard to fit it in the same space without just saying, let's just do practice papers and ignore it, which is like, I just wouldn't do. I know another tutor that's the same. He wants to push it to 5 days, and we'd love to. But as soon as you do that, you're not competitive, because no company's going to send their guys on a 5-day course when everyone else does it in 3 days. There are some people that will do it in 1 day, and some employers just don't care. So yeah, I've got that coming up this week. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I find that the issue as well. It's sort of like the elephant in the room thing. I'll probably ask now,
Hmm.
and it's to do with the 18th edition. Now, as our company policy, you've got to hold the 18th edition. But I was quite shocked to know that a lot of places rely on a certain card to say somebody's competent, and it does have a declaration when you sign up to this card that you keep yourself up, but there's no checking further. And when you renew this certain card,
Yeah.
if you've got an older edition like the 17th, as long as you renew that within 12 months of its expiry, you literally don't have to do an 18th. Now I find that a little bit
Yeah. There's
bugging.
yeah. No. The whole card thing's always been. Well, it's not working, is it? As much as they want it to work and they say it works, it doesn't work. And there are big issues with the actual, legitimacy of a card, because there's lots of ways to kind of get around that. Having a card sit, what we need to remember is competency is being redefined, obviously in the Building Act and everything. We've got 5839 as one of the first examples where they're adding behaviours as a way to, or something we have to assess for with competency. A card system will not be able to assess for behaviours, company behaviour and individual behaviour. So there will have to be a new matrix to actually assess competency in the future anyway. Whether it be through declaration of CPD, declaration of skill sets, declaration of ownability, or it be through some company moderation, who knows. The card system itself, it doesn't guarantee anything. And again, unfortunately, I was going to have a little, in this podcast, I was going to have a little bit of a moan, so it may follow on from this bit about the way the industry is working. We've got TESP, which is obviously trying to sort out the training space, try to get people to identify rogue training, and there's an awful lot of support there, and there are many rogue trainers, and when we report them, they don't have a power to do anything except try to educate consumers better. Because they don't have the power to say you can't trade anymore. They don't have the power to say to City and Guilds you can't use that. You can't use that company anymore. They can raise questions, but they don't really have any other push on that. Or the organisations themselves, I have to be careful what I say, but they themselves are questionable, because there was one company that went down and they had thousands of people enrolled with only a handful of tutors to handle them. SparkyNinja, it's only a couple of assessors that are basically available, so we only will have about 20 or so portfolios floating around. We won't over-enroll because we just don't have the time to handle that. And when you don't have the time to handle that, you automate the process. And I've seen this with other assessors where they'll actually prepare an assessment. They'll prepare a holistic assessment going, get this, print this, show that, push this, then video it, and then in that one little video call with you, we'll hit boom, 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 boom criteria. We do it 3 or 4 times and you're done. Whole thing's artificial bollocks. But unfortunately, there's too many learners for some training companies to do it properly. And your organisations should have been monitoring that. You have X amount of approved or registered tutors. How can you handle so many learners? I push this into question. Fundamentally, economics always wins. Money will always win. But it's a challenge, and this card scheme's going through the same thing. We have new cards for new things. Cards for cable pulling. There'll be cards for first fixing, second fixing, and all sorts of things in the future, because it means there's more breakdown. You break an electrician down to different things. You can then card them. You can then register them, and everything for that requires a paywall, whether it be a training or an authorization or a scheme provider. But suddenly, what an electrician could do 5 years ago, he can't do now unless he gets this card, and then if he wants to do that as well, he has to go onto this scheme. And the whole thing is just about memberships and schemes and cards, and no one's just answering the obvious question, which is, does this actually work? And it don't work. And but like with all things, you've got to stop adjusting what we have, trying to improve what we have. Someone or something has to go back to the beginning and come up with the whole initial original concept. Same with FE in education, the training room. So many of the younger generations today don't want to go and sit in a room and watch someone go through PowerPoints all day long. They'd much rather be added onto a program of learning that could be distance supported, where it's loaded onto their device. They can have some pre-learning. They can then have some support in a training space where they need it. They can then go to a center where there are controlled assessments under safe conditions. And then after that, they can have peer review and monitoring to maintain that level. Instead of it being just going for 3 days and you're done, it could be a full-time commitment even. But people can learn at their pace. They can use, the swiping up action to learn things and revise things because they want immediate. And people learn differently now. So it's the same. It's the same across the board. We have to have a new idea. It might be that the industry comes up with an idea. It could be that there's a little conglomerate of electricians who create their own little party, their own little gathering, and they decide to have some kind of elected council, all as a cooperative organisation, and then suddenly they go, well, there's a good enough number here. We're representative of industry because we are industry, and as we are industry, we can then go through to the likes of UCAS and set ourselves up as a CPS alternative, or we could go and register ourselves as a trade organisation, or we could create some kind of identity about how competency should really be defined. Because right now, nobody really has any faith, and there's just huge frustration with what we have with this carding system. I mentioned on the previous podcast, a colleague of mine, he's a tutor IQA, and he's been told to go and get an MVQ, because the grandfather rights have gone. So to do a job at a college of an IQA, he needs to go and do an MVQ when he's not on the tools or in the industry anymore. He's supposed to be in the training space. So he's registered and signed on as an experienced worker with me, and he's doing some stuff at home, and he's done some stuff for colleagues, but he's having to go all around the houses to prove he can do the work he's been doing all his career, to satisfy a college that falsely interpreted what the ECS card structure is. And there's no guidance for them. So the whole thing is a farce, unfortunately.
We do get those sort of questions on the Facebook groups of ours where...
Do we?
We had one this week where it was, I'm in a CPS. I haven't got an EV qualification. Can I do EV? A lot of questions answered, well, you've got 18th, haven't you? Well, I hope the 18th. Little certificate that you get, that exam with 75% pass rate is not the standard that you need to just for an EV. And now I did say, not being funny, you need competence, you need skate. Your skills, your knowledge, your attitude, your training, your experience. You need your limitations to say, I'm not doing. It's more than a socket on a wall.
But the problem is, we've become programmed to believe that someone else has to tell us, yes, we can, no, we can't. We've been told that jobs aren't accessible unless we have this card or we have this membership. Recruitment's done that, procurement's done that, jobs and contracts have done that, tier 1 contractors have pushed that. When fundamentally the legality of it is, let's take electricity at work for example, do you have sufficient technical knowledge and experience relative to the nature of the work you're doing, so in this case EV, that you can prevent danger? And how do you prove that? That's it.
16
Yeah? You don't need this or this. You need to be able to prove that you have, relative to that specific job, enough experience and knowledge to identify the risk. Huge example of this is why I'm often in the Arc Flash space. I've always got an Arc Flash book right next to me. I've got Mike's right here because I'm always referencing the blooming thing. I've got Jim Phillips' calculations right next to me as well, because there are so many of us who work with energy, whether it be stored energy or connected energy, low voltage, high voltage, whatever. We can't control the risk if we don't know how to assess the risk. The only way to assess the risk is to seek education, understanding, and experience. That could literally be a YouTube channel if it's the right YouTube channel and not some kind of circus. It could be that you seek training, but is the training the right training? Does it hit the right merit? And is it well delivered? It could be membership of a CPS, but is the CPS controlled in the right way? Are you audited by an assessor that's competent to assess the competency you're trying to prove yourself against? Most likely, no. And so you end up in that problem, and that comes back to skates or to waves or whatever you want to use. It's about the attitude and the behaviour. And somebody who wants to know if their competency competent will ask that question to themselves, and they will then seek mentors in their industry, colleagues in their industry, even competitors in industry, to compare and to look at that. And we've been pushed into this space where no, you have this card or you have this membership, where actually they don't have enough depth or detail to properly understand the different requirements. It's about behaviours. It's about your own behaviours. And so I find myself in many a situation where I've got myself through reference or through being invited into a meeting, and I'll be with all these people with all these things, and I'll go, oh, and I'll be like, I ain't got that, I ain't done that, I ain't got this. And then I go, how come you got involved with this then? I go, you invited me. Due to experience or due to the fact that you've listened to what I've said and I've helped or trained you before. And that's just down to, again, to behaviours. It's down to that. It's not down to the cards. So, but that's what we don't teach people. We don't even teach them on apprenticeships. The legislation on any training course is that boring bit you start with, where your head's going, oh God. When really that's the bit where you can be in control of your future. Because if you understand the legislation and you understand how to interpret it and how to apply it, you can then defend yourself in court. And you can then go yes or no to certain jobs. And you can identify how to develop yourself. But we have this different approach. We have this different approach that we think is boring. We think it's a frustration. Because it's just the same nonsense that's thrown by everybody at the beginning of any training program or any introduction to learning.
Yeah, I must admit I got into this job and we have separate contractors doing some work there, and I must admit the issue came to me of, is it competence or is it maybe they got something in place, but it's sort of a kitchen. They got the commando sockets. They got no RCD protection.
Mm-hmm.
No BA1, BA2, section 411.
Mm-hmm.
Says to me that 33 says to me that it needs to have RCD protection. I see it. I'm questioning it, but what can I do about it?
So again, it comes down to the behaviour, doesn't it? I mean, the question would be, well, why didn't they do it? They may go, well, it's not required, or they may go, it is required, or maybe they didn't know. If you identify it as a risk relative to the nature or just to the consumer, then you, under a behaviour, should report that, or record it, or pass information on. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got a government power. So we supply to the isolator. We don't have to turn the isolator on until I can say I'm satisfied with your test certificate.
Right.
Now I could bring up the subject probably there.
You could do, yeah.
So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably cause a lot of problems, but I'm going to ask for risk assessment.
You can do, yeah. If you think that they're, I mean, I'll be honest, risk assessing, we've discussed this before, risk assessments are something that we still think of, oh yeah, generic, we throw them in, we go to a job, there's some RAM, someone else has written, printed off of some other system, some other software, where a lot of our designs need risk assessments to support them. The absence of RCDs, open pen protection, simultaneous risk assessments for EV, all these things. A risk assessment should be for an electrician, a risk assessment should be as easy as, I don't know, signing a birthday card. It should be a very easy thing to do. It should be a thing they've done again and again and again, and not a confusion. And a lot of electricians get confused because they're inexperienced with it. And they're inexperienced with it because they're not supported properly in how to use them. And, legally, it's a great way to prove your judgment. It shows to persons like me, if I'm kind of being involved as some kind of alternative expert, it shows me what was considered and what was not considered. And so if I, for example, see anyone using stored energy or live electrical work, and there's no mention of the energy level for the live working aspect, I can see the gaps in their understanding and their application. Doesn't mean I say they're incompetent. It means I say that they may need to redo it, or they may need to consider this further. It happens all the time, especially with thermal imaging, where people just don't consider all the risks with doing that work. In the US, it's very different, but here, we have, You have an electrician going to do a ZE test. Lots of us have said, oh yeah, don't work live, don't work live, don't work live. Must do R1, R2 plus ZE to get the ZS's for everything you can. Only measure ZS's if you use a plug-in socket adapter so you can safely measure ZS. But yeah, go get your ZE. And they'll go, okay. And then they'll lower the panel, identify IPXXB, IP2X issues, and then they'll do that. And again, they've opened up the panel with energy inside. They may manipulate energized conductors. There's a risk there. There's a risk of an arc flash, even on LV. So on my 2391, I've got a video that I play with this chap who had an RC arc flash, and it's very, very self-explanatory. Just to make electricians who would come on a course with me go, huh. And then it's up to them what they do with that. It's up to them. But I've given them the information, I've given them the awareness of a risk for them to then go and seek more information. Our trade organisations don't do enough of that. They've started to with the battery course, because with the battery course we put in batteries and we can potentially put them in the wrong arrangement, where we may have two terminals that are, that are within touching distance of each other, that are over 120 volts DC. Suddenly there's a risk, and there's a risk that you may have a tool shortening between them. So we do an arc flash calculation there, but it's just a DC arc flash calculation. It's a very simple calculation in comparison to the enclosed, non-enclosed, box, vertical, horizontal that we do with arc flash for AC systems. But it's down to limited awareness. And I've said this to City and Guilds when I was working with them as a qualification developer, and they just felt there wasn't enough time in the program to add it. But you go to the bigger clients, the bigger companies, the bigger houses, you'll start to see this stuff. And the more you learn, again, as Mr. Moonan would say, the more you learn, the more you earn, because you can add value to that space. You can add value to it. We'll have to do on a podcast one night. We'll have to do a DC battery arc flash calculation, and we'll do an AC calculation for an LV system with maybe a 200 amp supply upstream, just to kind of see where the energy would be and what as we go further down the system. It also applies to 7909, but people don't really apply it.
Amazing with all the standards that you've got to know, and all the information you need is easily done, I suppose. I think in 2025 to see 951 bonding conductors used on armouring just says it all to me, really, to be honest with you, and I did witness that.
Yes. Again, I remember Paul, John, and I looked at that when we did the coding, and I don't know if it was John or Paul, but they found an old standard that actually accepted it on the lead sheath. But it was from the 80s as a practice that DNOs were accepted to use, which then got flushed out. But yeah, it's still used today as the quickest way to come off of a steel armor and stuff. I'll admit I had done it once. And in this case, I had photos of this, I think, on my Instagram, because I was under a bandstand during an event. They had RCDs weren't testing their test. RCDs weren't passing their test because the ZE or the ZDB at the distro was like, I don't know, hundreds of ohms, right? And we just couldn't get it to work. So I followed this cable, and this distro was fed by an armoured on a 60309 for some stupid reason. It went under the bandstand. I'm under the bandstand, and it's just this area where water's dripped through, and there was an earth coming off of the distro onto a clamp that was around the armour. I was like, crap. And it had been rusted up. And that's obviously where this increase in impedance had come from. So I had no option at the time than to replace it. So I cleaned it all out. I took the EC15 off, and I got a fresh one out of the store, put that on, tied it up, and it's probably still there now. for all I know. But it brought the impedances down. We got it fixed. But yeah, those are practices that people copy. Monkey see, monkey do a little bit, And yeah.
Not so much you can't do it, more of a departure.
Well, do you know what? It's funny you say it, right? Departures. There's a good wiring matters. This month's Wiring Matters is a good article. I think it's by Mike Peace on an example of using departures. And a lot of us don't understand the benefit of using departures. And there's a good example. I think the example they use in their article is on cables where they're using SY or YY cables that aren't manufactured to a standard or something. How you can then use the departure system, and it just then shows you that you have to get the declaration of conformity and you have to get the evidence from the manufacturer that it achieves no less, blah blah blah. But it's a good article. I did wish that they used that example with electric vehicle charging points, because if you have an EV charger that's got open pen protection built in, and it's manufactured to 61851 as a charger, I've gone through this on another podcast. We need to use the we need to obtain the declaration of conformity, and we need to then get that departure filled in to then apply. Well, we get that declaration of conformity, and we can put a departure in. But then, if we can get all that, we don't have any issue. We can put a departure in, but if we get the declaration of conformity, we can just do our initial verification. We can get it signed off. So it would have been nice if they did that. But there's a good if you're thinking you need to know more about departures. Google the wiring matters, and it's this month's copy. There's an article on that. There's one on, I think it's galvanic isolation or something, and there was another one that was quite good. I can't remember what it was. I have to have another read of it later. But that's a good bit of CPD. I probably did sometime this week. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my frustration. I've got a bit of a frustration with the industry at the moment because I've done a lot of work. To help support the road trainer campaign. I've done a lot of work with regards to not letting SparkyNinja sell or promote AM2 pass strategies. I've not put anything on YouTube. I've not allowed anything in the Facebook groups that says these are the things you need to pass the AM2. Because nets say you're not supposed to have any courses. The apprenticeship is supposed to give you the experience to succeed the AM2. And it says on their website, none of our training centres sell or have these AM2 pass courses. But they all freaking do. And I'm not an AM2 centre, and I deliberately don't. So I've seen so many people just be sold these courses when they should be prepared better. And there's many other reasons, but I'm kind of getting frustrated. I kind of feel like just going, Urgh, and maybe just cutting out a lot of the courses and just putting everything on fucking line for free. I have to demonetize this now. Well, it's not monetized anyway, but I don't care about the expletives because it's just frustrating. You know, it's frustrating. There's an awful lot of shit that's going on, and a lot of gaslighting. And there's, I get involved in an awful lot of these, people rubbing each other's backs and then sucking each other's off and all this shit. And I kind of just sit back and go, ugh. I don't get involved with that. But yeah, I've been invited to do some things later this year. There's a couple I will go to, but I look at what's going on. And I'm just like, I'm not in this space. I'm not in this space where we kind of, we're screwing it for electricians, but we're telling each other we've done a good job. It's not for me. So I might just put all this crap on thing for free just to kind of do what I did a few years ago because it's getting a bit annoying. Yeah, actually I did write that down. What something I wanted to cover, so we've covered that. That's good. All right, let's move on to something interesting. Anything else you want to cover? Anything technical or anything you've got?
Technically, I suppose my own problems and issues these couple of weeks.
You got issues? What are your issues, mate?
Oh, I've got earthing issues. Earthing everywhere. It's just been an absolute mess. Basically, I have an issue of sizing a bonding conductor, not your average kind of installation, transformer next door, HV in, global earthing system, a bit of 50522. The standard on earthing with systems above 1 kV. I got a link in the board. Got a transformer. It goes to a busbar trunking system. Comes down into a big LV switch panel, and in there is your neutral to earth link bar.
Yep.
And now the debate is this TNCS PMB, or is this going to be deemed as TNS? And the argument I've come from researching is that there seems to be two different versions here. Some will argue that the neutral from the transformer star point to the customer's panel does not have a combined function. It merely moved the star point to the panel and the earth is taken from there. So for then, it's TNS. Then there was another argument that the reverse, that the neutral does have a combined pen function. It is not shifting the star point from the transformer, hence PMB. The difference being in 544, it will say that I can have a 50 mil maximum conductor size for my PME. If I go use TNS, I have to use the S over 2 in the cable 4.4, I think it is.
That'll be smaller.
And it will be bigger.
Bigger.
My light conductors are 2 bars in parallel equaling 320 mil squared. I will be 160 mil conductor. Now the issue with this is the proposed clamping system from the earthing experts is a round clamp around big steel pipework. The maximum in 951 for clamp cable stops and taps out at 70 mil squared. Fine for PME, not so fine for my 160 mil conductor. Now, I could say that it's going to be lugged on. How am I going to get a lug that reduces that far down to get onto a 70 mil conductor from a 160 mil lug? It's something I've got to look at. Do I stick and go worst case scenario? I don't really know if this is PMB or it's going to be TNS and go with a 160.
So it's one site, 2 transformers.
One transformer. Well, 2 transformers. One HV, 20 meters down the wind.
Yep.
Comes up to a LV transformer with a HV input.
Yep.
LV. Buzzbar trunking coming across. There's my earth and my neutral.
Oh, right.
It's going into the panel.
Yep.
It's all earth nested down here. And
so the HV earthing is in.
HV earthing's in.
Where's the LV earthing? Is that starting there and then they've gone in and then they've moved? They're saying because they've got a neutral and earth link there that it's moved. Is that what they're saying?
It's moved. It shifted the point of the connection to the neutral to earth bond from there because it's not bonded at the transformer, I think is what it's basically saying. It's not neutral to earth starred there.
TNC. TNS.
See where my head is.
I mean, they're combined.
They are combined, but are they combined like they would be on a normal transformer of a TNS where you would technically have the neutral and earth combined at the star point?
So they're saying it's TN, and even that combinant bit that's a little bit further is the TN bit, and then it's separated. Yeah. There's no combined. Is there any part of a TNC setup there? Is there any bit of it that is TNC?
Not that I can see. I can only see. Not that I can see. No, it's just Wavecon triple cables coming in, and that's it. See my dilemma here, where do I go 50 mil and be completely under? But the expert client who designed it, when I did the original design, I said it is TNCS, but it's a form of TNS. And I was told I was probably wrong on that, so I could say that I could take their advice and say, well, you said it was TNCS.
So are they going with what's cheaper in their design?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I don't think it comes down to cheapness. This is not a cheaped out job I've got. I mean, it's fully spec'd.
Right.
There's a massive specification in for it. It's not a cheap job.
Okay.
They wouldn't cheap out. The argument of the two, like I said, I find information that says it's technically moved, and some say it's actually TNCS. And the difference is, if I put the wrong cables on,
well, yeah, your system,
get in trouble. 160 mil is the answer because that's going to be the highest it's going to be anyway.
So I guess,
but then I might be asked to justify why I've used.
I guess the question is, when is TNCS PNB not TNS?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a distance at which that neutral earth link has to be for TNS no longer to be applicable for it to then become TNCS PNB?
Exactly.
Or is there a?
I think there is.
It's all in one transformer, one building, one location. Is it? There's no distance. Then it's a link.
There's one bit of brick wall separating the two. It's literally 5 meters from one another.
And there's no separate system between the two locations, like on that brick wall.
Global.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and I got to do a whole earthing design and schematic on this.
What was that BS you mentioned? 502.
50522.
5052. Do I have that in my access library? So look. I'm gonna have to read up on this one, mate, because that's. What am I getting all these other standards when I put play?
Well, you can see where I lose my sleep on some of the things I do. And,
well, is it is it your name fundamentally that's
Yes, it is. Yes.
I can see why. Sorry, BS 5052 2
Two.
2 2 2. All right. Do I have that? That is the other thing of power installations exceeding 1 kV. So what we're really trying to understand is what is the rule, or what is the distance from the TNS connection to the supply to the center of the transformer for it to still maintain its TNS reference going away, and when would it become a TNCS PNB?
I know my answer. Just go to the 160mm cable.
Which is the worst case, right?
But I've got to justify the costing, because obviously.
What is the difference in costing?
I have not looked, but I can gather it's probably going to be 3 times the amount.
A couple of zeros.
The other issue I got is we have an earthing conductor specialist for the HV side involved in the job. There's several people involved in the job. They're recommended to bond everything, even if it's not got an extraneous reference, or it's not an exposed conductive part. So we got cables on a ladder. They are SWA. They don't have any reference to the ladder, and they want us to bond the crap out of everything.
Why?
Which means these 160s are going to go everywhere. Oh, I argued this. They're going to go everywhere. So I don't think they want to take the risk. So I think they're just bonding the crap out of everything. There's no extraneous parts. There is a gas pipe, that's extraneous. Fair enough, that's got to be bonded. There is district, sort of like pipes coming from somewhere else to supply heating. They link to another energy center. I have another issue where I have a TX over here supplying an energy center, TX over here supplying an energy center, and I could have a potential come up through the two. Obviously, there's going to be a length of steel pipe in the ground, and it's going to depreciate as it's coming through from one fault to the other, but they're all going to be cross-bonded together. So you've got like 2 different systems in one sort of issue, which leads me to another question I got later on in this. It's a different job. So lots of considerations to put in place before I literally press the button on this one. There is experts involved, which is good, so I got them for reference. It does have to be checked by the client anyway, so that's good. So I got support, so they can check it as well. I believe nobody wants to do this, because in the original designer's pack, they never had this in there.
Yeah.
They didn't want to take any thought of this whatsoever, and obviously as the contractors now, we've got CDM and ever commitment to fulfill or make a design for.
You're involved in a designer role.
Yes.
Right. So you want to, yeah. I think this is. I mean, I've just searched a few things, and there's nothing that's clear as mustard on this, but I will.
It's very lots of standards, lots of headache, lots of thinking, lots of. Well, if I go worst case.
Yeah.
I'll go worst case. If I have an expert's telling me they want me to bond the crap out of it, I'll bond the crap out of it. No reason.
Frustrating, but I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. No chances had here. But you have to also be careful because you've got earth potential rises. You've got a grid around the whole build. You've got LPS systems, and you probably laugh a little bit at this. The LPS on the roof has these stand-up rods.
Right. So the arresters.
Yeah. So we got them.
Yeah.
But the structure over here is higher than them.
Right. Because I know that the light protection experts, I think, prefer those to the tapes, because if you get those well installed, you can create the rolling sphere method, and you can then elevate the sphere above the structure so that anything obviously on the roof doesn't need to be considered needing capturing in the system. But so you're saying they're on there, but the equipment is above their periphery, so the rolling sphere they'll be in that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically I've asked for the rolling sphere. There is a structure that's higher than the actual things by quite a considerable amount.
Is this an existing LPS system that's been pre-installed, and then this is a modification after the fact?
It's a new one.
Oh. So you need a design of the LPS system. You need to get their 62305 input to kind of cross fertilize with your design. You know, while 7671 says 62305 is out of scope, that's bullshit. You need to, so you need to get the LPS design guy to kind of get involved to make sure that you're not compromising their system.
Oh, to sum it all off, we've also got lovely solar on top as well.
Yeah, well, you know. Okay, yeah. So
71
sounds fun. Sounds fun, but yeah.
Staircases that have got lightning protection already installed to it.
Gosh.
But I kind of also need to bond it. Can I use the combine? There's another question for you.
Right.
Is the teeth big enough? Oh, it goes on and on and on, mate. I don't sleep very well.
I'll tell you, I'd be interested to have a little peek at some of these designs because that is intriguing. It is intriguing. No, yeah, I'll have a look-see, mate. I'll have a look-see. All right. We're running near the hour, aren't we now? Yeah, near the hour. I've covered my CPDs. We've covered a bit of this. Have you got any CPD in this week or last week? We've been absent for 2 weeks.
My CPD has been eFix, funny enough. They did a lovely one on 526.9, treating the connections for fine.
5269 wiring systems,
fine wire cables,
terminations. Yeah. Okay. What did you do? What was it?
They've done it before. It's basically based on the treatment of fine flex, when to, when not to. They did one
ferrules.
Before. Yeah, ferrules. It was pretty good before, to be honest, but they've actually upped it again and redone it. It's a lot more in depth. I've noticed they've added a lot more questions to pass at the end. So not 10 anymore, it was 20. I think I gotta admit, I kind of like that setup. At least I can give CVD to lads. I'm not going to a book.
It's great though because you can literally just say, lads, just have a go at that, and there's no excuse. It's fun. It's interesting. It's engaging. You know, and it's short. It's like what, 20 minutes, and a question.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a question thing probably takes about 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. No, that's
Some of the questions were a bit like easy. Some were a little bit like you should have listened to understand.
Yeah.
They're finding it fun as well, engaging, and I like to say I could send them a professional electrician magazine, and it's very good. But my fear is you could just go straight to the back, scan it. There we go. Thank you very much. I have done it.
Yeah. I mean, it's good value, but that is the thing. You know, these. As I said earlier in this podcast, people want to learn in different ways, and the idea, like with eFix, where you can just go and log in and you can go to their little. I think they have like a catalogue of courses. It's perfect for guys who are running around all the time. They're just trying to binge on a bit of CPD here and a CPD there, and they can just watch some of it back and stuff. It's much more suitable for them than reading through things or researching things. It's the benefit of video, isn't it? And publications still have their place, but I think a lot of people just try and video medium as their priority these days. Something that I've been SparkyNinja's got. We've probably got like, I don't know, maybe 150 odd things recorded that I've never published because I've never really had the time to then follow. Because a lot of the stuff I've done, there'll be a follow on. Do this, then we do that, and then we do that, and it's just the time management. And again, I've got an idea of just dumping an awful lot of stuff online soon. I did start an apprentice thing, but then Learning Lounge kicked an apprentice thing forward that they were partnering with Electrical Safety First, so I pulled mine back because I didn't want to conflict. I didn't want to try and say, I'll do this as well. Let them do it. Let them do it. And I believe it's done very, very well. But I have got an awful lot of stuff that I had recorded, and I've got a lot of people who could probably benefit from it. And I know that video works well for a lot. So I think probably through... Well, what are we in? We're nearly in September. I think I might just vomit loads of CPD through 2026. Just get it off my computer.
I'll watch it.
I think a lot of it is just basic stuff for apprentices. This is this is that. Put this into this, and but it's there, so I may just vomit it out through 2026. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to step on other people's projects. When Electrical Safety First did their thing with their lounge, I was like, I don't want to piss them off. I don't want to put all this stuff out. I want them to kind of, go through what they've done. But we'll see. I might do something in 2026 on
Yeah.
that. Now, so that's some good CPD. Now, I hear you have a new toy.
Oh yes. My boss has bought me a lovely. This is due to we make purchases in the business only when we need to. We got a DRLO for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
When we're doing, let's say, the transformer joint connection, the bus bar 614396, we're compliant. We're testing. So I have been given, duly because our fault levels are just so much higher, and the MFT runs out of smoke, runs out of puff.
Yeah.
So the 1741 is getting a little bit. I'm going to be a number generator.
Yeah.
So we needed something that would scale to 0.001 on our ZSs and our ZEs and our
Yeah. 0.001. Wow.
Two options out there: the X1.
Yep.
And the 1674 FC. My boss is a fan of Fluke. He's a fan of Mega.
Yep.
It came to what do you want? I thought, you know what, I've always been a Mega fan, and it's been very good. And I thought it was time to try something else. So I tried the 1674 FC, which is Fluke's latest offering of MFT. It's a fully touchscreen, jog-dialed monster of a machine. It has all sorts of functions and things. It's very similar to the X1.
Looking at it now, it's pretty. Okay.
You need a screen protector for it because you're going to be touching it and it's going to get scratched. So you definitely need one of them. Battery-wise, it's a USB-C, so you just plug it in. No changeable batteries on this one.
So it's just rechargeable.
Yeah, it's rechargeable, but I haven't tested it yet to see.
You've not used it enough to give us an understanding on what that's like.
It might have batteries you can change, actually. I'm not actually sure. I haven't really explored it that much, but I'm pretty sure I just plugged it into USB-C and charged it, and away I went. Didn't seem to take that too long to charge either. It was on 6% when it got to me because our contracts manager went through London seeing everybody showing demo in it. So when it came to me, it got 6% battery. I was like, what have you done to this thing? You know when people steal your mobile phone in London?
Yeah, you get that a load of pictures on it. You go, hang on.
I suppose he didn't handcuff it to a blooming hand. Yeah, he was strolling around doing demos, so it came to me 6%. I charged it up. Must admit, it didn't take long. So far.
I want some feedback on it, because the company I'm working with at the moment, they've just bought 4 X1s, and I've got an X1. And I've got nothing to say about the X1 in it that's negative. People have used it in my centre, have always found it fine. With Fluke, I've had a bit of a hatred for Fluke MFTs, because when I was working with a social housing, a local authority, this is I don't know, it's probably 20 years ago, mate. Do you remember the Robin yellow bricks?
Oh, I had 3 of them.
Yeah.
D-locks.
I was the Void Sparky, so I was doing testing every day. You know, my toolkit was basically the black case with the Robin yellow bricks, a notepad or the NIC cert pad, and a bottle of Mr. Muscle and a rag. And I go in these Void properties and I get all the fingerprints off. I may change the drawstrings. Maybe I'd have to put an RCD next to the old board, because we had, obviously at that time, the this is pre-17th edition. So this is where we had to put the RCDs and socket out the circuits, and that was basically it at the time. We didn't have this split load RCD scenario. But they bought this new MFT. It was like the very first one out there, and it was the Fluke yellow case. And their case hasn't changed at all, and it's that. And they haven't changed the look of them at all. And it's that's always made me think it's the same tester, it's the same tester, it's the same tester. But this one you've got looks different. The case is probably the same, right?
It's the same look as we have got a...
No, the case looks different, actually, to me.
FC in the business already.
Yeah.
It looks very familiar to that,
but not the old Fluke MFTs.
Not the real old one. No.
The yellow ones. Now, you see, the Fluke I had back then, the leads were constantly tangled up together. They were this really sticky silicon kind of texture, and it had this beep on it, this chirp that would go if you were making an error. This twat noise we called it, and I couldn't turn it off because you couldn't turn it off back then, so I didn't know how to. And so people would take the mick out of me because if I was making an error, the tester would go twat twat. It just make this noise, and so I fell out of love with it because I got annoyed by it just making this noise and the leads or whatever. And so from then on, I'd always kind of just distance myself from the flukes. But I love fluke multimeters, clamp meters. I've got everything else fluke but MFT, and I've always thought I need to get a fluke MFT at some point. Maybe this is it. Maybe I need to get one of these.
Or you do, I'll probably come up for a course soon, and I'll bring it with me.
Yeah, we'll have to catch up. I mean, I'm going down your way a lot lately as well, actually. We will have to catch up because I want to have a little look at this because I think I need to give Fluke a chance. You know.
Yeah, I think so. I must admit, so far from looking at how it accesses, how it does stuff, some of the features on it that I've read up, like the motor testing feature, seems pretty good.
What a test!
I do like the installation resistance pre-check.
I just read that.
I like that feature. It was on the older one as well, and
the pre-test functionality. So is that just a test where it tests between? How does that work?
I think it does a continuity check first to make sure, and then it won't give you it if it's for the sensors.
Oh, I see. A bit like how a PAT tester works.
Kind of, yeah.
Because you do a PAT test. If you do a test on a PAT tester, it'll give you low load if you haven't got it switched on, and it'll tell you that there's, so it looks a little like that. Okay. Has an SPD testing function on, which we're still debating on in industry as to if we want to do that. But yeah, no, it looks. You say it's touchscreen.
Touchscreen, fully touchscreen. Yeah. You have got a jog dial. You can use a dial.
I see that there. Because I was quite tempted because the Matrel is touchscreen, isn't it?
Yes, that's another one I like, but that's the one I wanted was like $4,000 or something.
Yeah, because I've got the PAT tester Matrel. And I was going to get the MFT equivalent. And I was literally thinking about getting that in a couple of weeks. But this is kind of throwing a spanner in the works, to be fair.
Well, yeah, it's good. We were going to rent one before we bought and purchased, but I must admit, the X1 looks good as well. I can't say much about it, really. I've never had one. I've seen it in your place. Because I used it once.
I mean... To be honest, I do teaching, so I use it now and then. I mean, so you shouldn't really listen to my opinion. There are Sparkies out there that use that thing every day. Some have said the batteries aren't great. Some have said it's fine, it's fantastic, and that's the feedback you need to listen to. So, if you're wondering or taking feedback from me, don't ask in the Facebook groups. Ask Sparkies about the testers because I use them every few weeks. I don't use them every day. That's definitely.
I did put it in the 2391 group. Got this new toy. Anybody got one? And funny enough, I don't think I'm going to get a lot of people say yes compared to if it's X1.
No. I think the majority of people have an X1 or probably I noticed there's a lot of guys getting this Martindale. I think is it Martindale, the yellow one? It's a more affordable tester, isn't it?
Yeah. For me, it was the levels that I needed. The 0.01 level reading I needed. There's only two that I could see did that. I couldn't see a Metro that did for me. Pretty sure.
0.01 or 0.001?
0.001.
0.01, so that extra decimal.
Yeah, that extra decimal of accuracy for me, where we are with the transformer. Right.
So you're in transformer rooms. So these impedances, these accuracies are detrimental, aren't they? You need there's that 0. You don't want 0.00 measurement for everything you do. You need that extra accuracy.
We do have the same problem with continuity at the moment because we got some big 150 mils feeding distribution panels. They're, the MFT was coming back with 0.01.
Do you know what I watched on? I can't remember who posted it. I think it was on LinkedIn. Somebody posted or shared a video. I can't remember which country it was. I think it was South Africa, whatever. But it was a guy doing a video. It must have been YouTube somewhere, where he was talking through busbar. It looked like AF6 switchgear kind of scenario, orange kind of chambers and stuff. But he looked at the bus, and he was showing that there were torque settings. But he had this feather. He called it a feather detector or something like that. It was just this like keyring, loads of different thicknesses, and he had the thickness that was supposed to be the distance maximum between the two buses as they were bolted together. And he picked it, and it's like I don't know, 0.25 of a mil or something. And he used that, and if you could get them behind the bus, it meant they weren't tightened up enough. You can get these little instruments that he used. It was quite interesting. So I thought that might be quite a... I don't know if that's a common thing. I need to look into it more. But
like on a car when you do like the spark plugs gapping.
Similar kind of principle. And they had obviously the markers on the nuts, so you could see if there's any vibration on. But you had this little feather. It was literally just metal that he'd slide between, and if it went behind it, it meant that there was an air gap, an air pocket. So the actual dimensions were there. He had the design, he had these things, and he put it in there just to make sure that there weren't any gaps or creeps in the buzz bars between them, which I think is very important, especially when we have lots of buzz bars now that are made up in the lots of switchgears made in a factory. Then logistics transport it, and you have all that vibration and all that knocking, and it gets sighted on site. We have to retorque everything and get everything properly primed up. And so I found that quite fascinating. I'll have to source it and see if I can. I'll share it to you and see if we can source one of these little things ourselves.
Was on the subject of new toys and tools. Mr. Bickerton actually messaged me something that's quite interesting.
What? What's he got?
We have our opinions on it. It's either great for the industry or a de-skill of the industry. It's very much a conduit bender that auto bends. It's Milwaukee.
Well, for our grade galv steel conduit.
Yeah, it was bending the conduit itself to the right angle. So
wow.
I thought game changer, but I do get the de-skilling part of it.
It's the same with all these things. Like these guys have these Milwaukee things that cut you in the strap.
Oh, we got them.
I think in the game, every day. But your staff must be able to work with a hacksaw and a set square and have the skills for that time. Same with making off, same with like prefabricated bends in trunking and tray. You should be able to bend a 45, you should be able to bend a shallow 90 or whatever in any of these mediums, should you be on the job and have no time for anything. You got to get yourself off site, just so that you can, instead of doing it in a shite way. But if you can manufacture prefabricated stuff, use tools that make things quicker, then I get it. The skill in the industry, that depends on if the training room and the colleges start using it and normalizing it. I can see the risk, and I know an awful lot of training places would like to use that kind of stuff. Those are probably Gary's most rewatched videos, probably analytically. I bet is those ones about where the positions are on the tube and how to bend the tube. Because those were the ones that a lot of skills, a lot of us just forget. And when we're in the training room, those are the ones that I know a lot of tutors reuse, because he explains it very, very well. And those are things that, electrician, unless you're doing it all the time, you don't retain them. There's some cracking guys on TikTok and all sorts doing it, though. Putting the tube in, showing the position, marking it, and then tweaking it and adjusting it. I'll be sad if these things take over, but I get that they're going to be quicker.
We have the strut cuts, and this. We actually have a guy that's full-time containment. We call him containment Jesus.
Containment Jesus. I've met him.
He looks like Jesus.
Yeah.
Name's Ange. He's brilliant. He can bend and do anything with containment. He's probably the most limitations guy I know. I'm not touching wires.
So what would he think of this thing? Would he be in favour of it or not?
I haven't asked him his opinion. I think he's pretty much going to hate it, because it's going to be like, well, there's my job. Not that you could ever replace him. I mean, he's the kind of guy that he can do anything with metal. It's just amazing. He's a former bike mechanic, but he literally can do anything with metal. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, I have nothing but full respect for Sparkies that are great at bending and cutting and adjusting. That's an engineering craft, that is. And it's definitely one of the areas where I can do it with a little bit of practice on a rig somewhere where no one sees the outputs. Give me 3 or 4 practices and I can do it spot on. But those are the things that you get rough with if you don't do it again and again.
My guilty watch, I suspect you've got a guilty watch that you watch on YouTube or something, is residual mic.
Residual mic? Oh, yeah.
And I like watching Mike work and the tools he's got, and I think,
I still haven't got it. You know that Milwaukee Talk thing he's got, the Milwaukee Talk setter?
I don't know them.
Beep. Yeah, no, that's I just need. I'll deliberately get myself on a job just to buy that.
400 quid. I saw it on. I think it's brand new, like 400 or 500 quid, but eBay had one for like 300. I was so tempted.
Justified.
There's a couple on eBay.
Justified.
Yeah, I think,
I'll just take on a training job where I have to go and demo it just to buy that thing.
Is the
No, it's
accuracy
great.
there with, because it's
Oh, I
also
don't care at this point. I just want it to. I just want it. Then I'll look at if it works or not when I get it.
drilling itself, it also screws things up. So is the accuracy there because it can?
There must be. I guess things like that you'd have to get calibrated.
Yeah,
I assume, but no, yeah. I mean, we have to embrace all these new things as long as we have some level of as long as we have some level of quality still in our craft, then that's perfect. All right, mate. We hit an hour, 15 or so. I think I had. Because we can cover that on the next one. Things to cover. Look, mate. I'm sorry I've been so busy because I know you know we've both been kind of thinking we need to do a podcast at some point, do another one. I've just had an awful lot of stuff going on. I know you've been busy as well, but it's been great catching up with you. We will maybe do another one. It's bank holiday weekend. We may. What are you doing tomorrow? You might be free for another one.
Yeah, I'm free for another one tomorrow. I've got some things to go over.
I've got a long drive, 4.5 hour drive, but I'd like to maybe get another one recorded, just so that I can think that we haven't left too much of a distance between these, because it's good to catch up. We've got loads to talk about. Otherwise, we'll definitely get. If we don't get to it tomorrow, we'll definitely get one couple done next weekend. Catch up because we've got a little backlog of ideas now.
Not a problem for me. I'm free tomorrow, so.
Alright, mate.
I'm not going to work Tuesday either, so I'm free Tuesday.
Free Tuesday. I've got 18th edition, but maybe late on Tuesday. Yeah. I'm in your neck. I'm going down to Swindon.
Oh,
That's not too far from you. Yeah, I went down to Swindon. I was in Swindon about 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? Can't remember. I had to go and look at some 2391 rigs. This training company's bought £17,000 worth of rigs. And I've got to go and look at them and set them up. And they're good rigs, good amount of stuff. Everything's good. Good investment, good amount of money being spent in training, which is fantastic. Instead of making like crappy rigs, they're investing in good rigs, this company. And I was driving back, and my old man, he now lives in Cotswolds area, more in a marsh area. Moved into this house in the middle of nowhere. And I'm driving home. It's about 9:30 p.m. or whatever, and I'm in the middle of a beautiful road. Not a motorway, nice long B road. It's dark. I've got a podcast playing, and he rings me up randomly, and we speak now and then. We don't speak every day. We speak maybe once every couple of weeks or so. Because when we speak, it's just about work. To be fair, it's how sad we are. But it was like, because he's been speaking to my brother a lot lately. He thought, I'd speak to you, see how you are. I said, I'm not too bad, I'm just travelling. He said, where are you? I said, I don't know. I'm driving home, and I just saw a sign for Warwick. He went, you're probably not far from me. I've never been to his house. I've not been to his new house, right?
I know Warwick, yeah.
And I said, what's your postcode? And he gave me his postcode, and I was 17 minutes away from his gaff. I went, So I popped round his gaff. I had a bit of dinner, had a Guinness Light, the zero alcohol Guinness. That's really nice, by the way. And I was sat there. I'll pop round there till like 1 or 2 in the morning having a chat. I just literally just drove past randomly his house in the middle of bloody nowhere. I was 17 minutes away. So I don't know what the chances of that. But so I did catch up with him, and he's retiring from his position in training. So he's going to work part time, which means he's going to be free. So he's going to come on board and do some more stuff with me. He's going to do some courses, and he's going to come and do some online stuff as well. Keep him conscious, because you know what they're like when they retire. Yeah, he can come on. Yeah, he'll do that. Because when they retire, he'll just play Steam games, or he'll just die an early death. So he needs to be active. He needs to keep his brain going. So yeah, we'll be seeing more of him probably from October, November time once he's kind of put his slippers on. He's got this new land. They inherited this new land, and he's got this huge acre land, and he's got this huge garden with this huge fountain. It's just basically under a marsh, so he's got lots to do. He's got lots to do at home. But the sparking side to keep himself busy, he's going to do a little bit of IQA stuff with the college part time. He's going to come on board and do some stuff with us just to kind of keep his brain going, keep his involvement going, because he likes it. He likes to kind of tell me I'm wrong all the time. He likes to kind of challenge me on what I know and all this stuff. So that'll be fun. I'll have a bit of fun with that. But all right, mate. Let's wrap this one up, and we may get another one done tomorrow. If not, we'll get one done soon. But we'll put this online, and if you're seeing this one, there'll be another one probably next week. We'll probably space them a week apart anyway. But Thanks for listening to this one. We are planning on doing some podcasts through September, probably the end of September, October. We plan on 2 or 3 where we focus on some of the design aspects, getting you ready if you're getting planned for the December exam. But you could be listening to this later on and do it for another course in the future anyway. But that was what we're planning on doing. And then there'll just be some more where we look at what's going on. Bit of shenanigans and things. Alright, mate.
Thank you, Dave.
I will speak to you later. Bye bye.
Speak to you later. Bye bye.